Hello and welcome, my friends. First of all, I'm sorry the newsletter is so late, but I feel it was Mercury retrograde's last little hey, we're gonna not record your message. But then I realized it gave me inspiration to do it in a different way. This newsletter is going to be by far different from any other one I have done ever. So I really encourage you to go in, ask yourself if, after I describe what I'm going to talk about, if you want to stay or if you don't want to finish watching it. That's up to you. That's free will, man. You don't have to, if you want to go and you don't want to listen to what I have to say today, then I encourage you to make that choice for you. What this newsletter is going to be about is me. Oh, such a Gemini thing to do. But no, for real, it's about my story. It's about how I got to here, what has shaped me along the way, what are my struggles along the way, and and really what my goal is, what I'm driving towards, so you have an understanding. Now, not everyone wants to know that, and that's fine. And that is so fine. And even if you listen to the end, take the parts that inspire you, take the parts that give you comfort in knowing that other people struggle as you do, take the parts that help empower you, and leave the rest. There is nothing that you have to do with any of this other than just please hold space. Now, my boundaries with this, because we all need boundaries, we love boundaries, is that you hold that space and just witness. I don't wish for unsolicited advice. I don't wish for it to be processed, nor do I wish for sympathy or pity or that type of feeling. I'm saying this to speak my truth, to give you a really raw and real, authentic version of who I am, because there's reasons for it. And I'll share those reasons as we go along. But I'm asking you to witness. That's all I'm asking. And if you don't feel you can, I am so glad that you know that you can't do that for me. And I thank you for listening this far. And may you be blessed and happy. And may your month be full of everything you need it to be. If you want to continue on, come with a journey with me, through how my life got me to here, how I got to here, why I'm passionate about certain things, why I'm kind of like whatever about other things. And this is fully cautioned. There could be tears, just there could be emotion, because that's all I am. That's all we are, is emotion. It exists in all of us, and I tend to have a lot of it. So, and that's okay. And just know that there is a internal war of being this vulnerable in a very public frame of mind. So if you're coming, if you're staying and coming on this journey with us, thank you. I appreciate you so ever much. I appreciate you just listening to this and taking the time to hold that space. Let's start back to, being born. When I was born the day that the lawyers in the courts wrote to my mother that her divorce was final with my father. So when I was in utero, there was a lot of high emotion, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief. And I feel we pick up that energy from our parents in utero. So I do feel it has affected me, because my mom would work overtime, because at the time she needed money. And the only way she knew how to make money was to work overtime. And I have lived my life working 2 jobs, or working one and working enough overtime for it to be 2 jobs. So there you go. So the patterns, right? I look for patterns in life, cycles, I grew up, I have an older brother, I have a younger brother. Both are amazing humans in their own way. They have followed their own path, and whatever that path has taken them, they are still beautiful humans. And I'm grateful for both of them. Wasn't easy. It wasn't easy growing up. Um, there was just a lot of sadness, a lot of anger, a lot of fighting, a lot of disruption, very little affection, and very little like love, direct love. So I grew up mostly on my grandparents' farm because my mother worked from dawn to dusk basically, and so my grandparents raised us, and my great aunt raised us for a great many of years. And I loved my grandfather with all my heart. So, you know, what did I won't give you the long version because we could be here all day. But in the environment that I grew up in that environment, and in the environment that I was exposed to, it created a person who was very much a people pleaser. I learned at a very young age that if I was a good girl and I pleased everybody, no one would get hurt. No one would get yelled at. No one would get threatened. Everybody would be happy. So it created the dynamic of being the people pleaser. From early on, my mother was very much about losing weight. I mean, back when I was still growing and going through growth spurts, and I would get chunky, as every kid does before they're ready to shoot up. And no, I was cautioned about my weight from like before I was even a teenager, and even my doctors. And so I think that created that idea of that complex, you know. And a mantra my mother used to use was, "You'd be so pretty if you lost weight." And so there's a lot of bad wiring. There was a lot of bad wiring when I first started on my spiritual journey that I've been carrying for a lot of years. Now, growing up in school was horrible. I was bullied incessantly from grade 1 to the end of high school. I hated school, and I was good at school. But the dynamics with my home life and the dynamics with, you know, my mother, because, you know, at that point I have middle child syndrome. If anybody is a psychologist and knows about the effects of being a middle child, it's the idea of feeling forgotten, the idea of not feeling important enough. And those of you who don't know, Google it. It's really interesting to see where you are in the children's spectrum and to see if it fits your family. So I resented my mom most of my life, especially my teenage years. You know, the hormones are flowing, and I just wanted her to listen. I wanted her to treat me like I was not just there to serve her. And so yeah. So there was a lot of arguing. There was a lot of strife. I felt very much alone. I felt very much misunderstood. I know this is common in so many people's lives. And then my father came back into my life in a conscious way, because there's so much I don't remember. You have to understand, I don't remember most things from like birth to early teenage years. I know snippets, but you know, my dad came back into my life around 8th grade. I went to live with him and his new wife and his new daughter, which there was a lot of resentment there because my dad wasn't, you know, I didn't feel my dad was around for me when I was young. But that was, you know, that's another story for another day. So what did my childhood, my teenage years, everything that I've dealt with, what did it create in me? What types of things did I become as an adult? And I kind of brought all that on. Because here's the thing, is that we can recognize that our parents have given us tendencies, given us thought processes, wired our brains wrong. You know, we can say that came from them, but as an adult, we are ultimately responsible for taking on or healing or changing what we don't like about ourselves. Because as a child, we have no choice, but as an adult, we have a choice, right? We have entered that frame of free will. So what did I created a people pleaser who felt unloved, unsupported. I felt that no one cared, that if I were to die tomorrow, that no one would really give a shit. That's how I felt for a huge amount of years. And, you know, and I'm not there now because I've done a lot of work, but for a long time, that's how I felt. And so I created codependent relationships. Everybody knows what codependency is. So I had to, and I did a really big disservice to me and to my friends who I had at that time. I created relationships where I did so much and I didn't allow it to be given back to me, that I created this sense of codependency, but still had the mantra in my mind that I wasn't loved or supported. So like creating really weird dynamics all over the place. I was, you know, as much as I'm a people pleaser, I can also be passive aggressive. At that time, I still can be passive aggressive because sometimes I revert because I don't know how to say how I feel. One of the biggest things I've learned as I've gone on is I am a person who didn't know how to express what I was feeling. I didn't even know how to recognize what I was feeling. I didn't even know what the fuck emotions were. Like I had no idea how love felt. I had no idea what joy was to me, or what anger, or I just had no idea. So I got married. I moved to Canada for 5 years. I was there because of 3 beautiful children, and I did my best to impart my knowledge, to impart my wisdom, whatever that may be, to them. And I left, and I left Canada after 5 or 6 years because I felt empty. My relationship had tanked probably before it even started, to be honest. And so I left 3 children that I was so deeply connected to that it devastated me. So I moved back home to Pennsylvania. That was really hard. I had to eat that for a while because that was a lot of shame and guilt. About a year and a half after I came back, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. At that point, I was very self-critical. Not that I wasn't before, but I mean, I was extra because I had this layer of guilt that I was working with that was like I was hammering it home. And I was very self-critical and, you know, and very just not kind to myself. And so I did nothing for an entire year because I physically couldn't. Walking downstairs, walking from one room to the other was like running a marathon for me. And it was debilitating quickly, and it hit hard and fast. So, you know, they gave me all the drugs. They did everything. Apparently they didn't diagnose me properly, which is, you know, why it led to a lot of joint replacements very early on. I mean, within 4 years of being diagnosed, I've had four joint replacements and a fusion done. So that's not a lot of time. So at that time, living with my father, because I moved back, I was living with my father and my stepmother. And my stepmother had said to me, "Oh, don't worry, we know you'll probably have to live with us for the rest of your life, and because we'll have to take care of you." And I was like, "Oh, hell no." I'm like, no, because the minute somebody takes away my independence is the minute that I'm like, no, I will find a way. And I did, and I moved out within the next month. Smart? I don't know, because I had found a job and it was stable enough, and but I had to relearn everything. I had to relearn how to, you know, how to just exist in the world and work and, you know, fight the fatigue. And so I moved closer to my job, which ended up being a blessing. And I really, there was a lot of years in there where I had to learn how to be independent, how I had to learn how to let people help me, which is still a challenge. And then I had one, God, it must have been 2012 or 10, one or the other. And I had a healing done. No, it was 2010. I had a healing done by a Reiki master who eventually became my mentor for a minute. And it clicked with me. Everything aligned with me. Everything was like, oh, it lifted so much freedom. It moved the energy. Not only did it release some pain, it released some emotional pain. I thought, this is what I need to do. And that's where my journey really started. You know, I began my journey realizing that I could change. I think if you look back, if you're on this journey of any kind, look back and when you decided that change was possible, where you decided that there's a difference, that you could change or choose to be something or someone else. Think about that, because that's when the true journey started. Mine started in 2010, January of 2010. And it's been going on ever since. I of course learned how to do the Reiki, and I've been working with tarot cards since then. But I never did it as an outward thing, like I'm going to make this my business. Did I want to? Yeah, but I wasn't ready. I see that now. I still see it. But some of the core issues that I'm working with is familial things. Like, for example, I'm a perfectionist. That comes, I don't really think that comes from my dad. It comes from being a people pleaser and knowing you had to do something perfect or you would get yelled at as a kid. I've released my dad from that, owning that one. I was creating codependent relationships where I was giving until I could give no more, but I wouldn't allow anybody to give back. Creating relationships that are one way, because if you're a person who is a people pleaser, you're going to get people who just want you to do for them and they're not going to do for you. One of the biggest challenges I found, and I'm going to really admit this, and this is really a tough one for me to admit, but my relationships before and after I got diagnosed with the RA, they were very much non-committed relationships. There wasn't a sense of commitment. It was a sense of I was a commodity more than a human being to hang out with, to spend time with. My relationships in the intimacy department were very dysfunctional. I did not honor myself. I did not honor my body. I did not honor what it was and what it meant. I did not have connection with my body because I projected it. I mean, gosh, when you start at the age of 9 with your mother telling you how overweight you are and how you need to lose weight and how you'd be so much prettier if you were skinnier, and you have that mantras running through your head your whole life, you're going to get complexes. And I disconnected from my body early on, before I was a teenager, because that's what people made fun of, me being overweight. And it's funny because I look back at pictures now and I'm like, I so was not overweight. I'm like, what? I wasn't. I wasn't. Even in high school, I was like, really? Really? Okay. But yeah, so when you're in that energy and you're in that sense of rejecting myself, rejecting who I am, rejecting my essence, there is a sense of attracting people who are going to do the same. So I attracted those people throughout my whole life, and including into my intimate relationships. And, and being overweight. And even when I did lose, I've been skinny, fat. I've done that whole yo-yo thing my whole life. And nothing's changed because I haven't changed. We think that, if I lose weight, I'm going to find a person who's going to take care of me, a person who's going to love me for me, a person who's going to, we're going to spend our lives together. We're going to have amazing times. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, that doesn't work. Let me give you a PSA right now. Honey, if you think if you lose a certain amount of weight, or if you do something to your body physically that adapts it or change it in any way, that's going to lead you to someone who's going to respect you, I'm telling you, it's not going to work. It's because you don't respect you. You don't accept who you are. You don't have that totality of, this is who I am. This is my body. I know why it's like this, and it's okay. I want to change it, but right now, we're okay. It is what it is. I love it regardless of what size it is. If you haven't gone down that path and that journey to that acceptance, which is the journey that I am on still, you won't find that person. You're not vibrating at a high enough level to gain that kind of person in your life. Because if you're criticizing yourself and seeing yourself as an overweight, oh, I'm so fat, I'm so this, I'm so ugly, if you have those mantras in your head and out loud, you are not vibrating high enough to find someone who is going to accept you for you, who is going to love you no matter what stage, what weight, what size, what color you are. You're not going to find it, because our intimate partners are a reflection of who we are inside. So if we're not being kind or respectful to ourselves, we're going to get that from our partner. Now, there are people out there that are just assholes that you have no control over. But in a lot of situations, our intimate partners reflect how we feel about ourselves. So for a great many of years, I had people who disrespected me completely because I didn't respect myself. And on this journey, I've had to face a lot of hard truths about that. And so I actually stopped dating. I fully stopped dating back in 2013, like fully. No more. Because I couldn't do it, because I needed to take care of me. I decided that I needed to commit to me so that I can attract that level of person in my life as a partner. I don't want someone who I have to constantly, and it's funny because a lot of the men in my life are emotionally unavailable. Well, I've done a lot of work, and I've learned that it's a multi-generational thing. I had a falling out with my grandfather, and our relationship was never the same since that day. And come to find out, I've been trying to make men emote ever since through my relationships. Kind of interesting, isn't it? So it was funny because once I released the need to do that, it was like that I was attracting a different type of person. Not the type I wanted, but a different type. And it was just really interesting. And I was just like, oh, okay. But I digress. So I knew that I had a long journey ahead of me, in a sense of unwiring some of the things that was wired as a child. Why? Because I wanted to. I wanted to be happy. I mean, if you know me personally and you know me for a long time, I'm a person who cries at everything, just about everything, tears, constant. It's like this never-ending well of sadness. And I was tired of it. I wanted to feel joy. I wanted to find happiness, what that was. I wanted to feel that. So I began this journey. And, there are points where I stopped, and there are points where, I just kind of paused and was like, got nothing. Some of the other things I've had to work on is my workaholism. I work a lot, but I work for other people more efficiently than I work for myself. In 2015, I quit my job, and the company was closing anyways, but closing that office. But I quit, and I decided that I was moving west, Arizona. How did I get Arizona? It just kept showing up. And I was like, okay. And I knew nothing about Sedona when I got here. Like, I came out to visit after I decided I was moving here. But I knew the universe was pushing me that way. And so I came, and my goal when I got out here, I was like, that's it. I'm not working for the man anymore. And if I am, it's going to be part-time. Oh, how naive myself was in 2015, because I did. I wanted to create a wellness center. I wanted to open a center. I wanted to create resources for women to learn how to do things like work on their cars, to know what their car is, so that when they go to the garage, they're not getting, you know, taken advantage of. I wanted women to know how to do things like repair things, and to do things like build houses, or, you know, repair houses, or just do things that I think we've been failed to be taught as a woman. I've been thankful that my father he is an equal opportunity employer. Um, so he took all the help he could get, and I learned a lot by his hand, and I am grateful for it every day. Every day. He taught me so much. But, you know, when I came here, I wasn't ready. I still had a lot of fear. I still had a lot of stuff I had to work with. When I first moved here, I moved to Cottonwood because I didn't think I could afford it, Sedona. And let me tell you, okay, Sedona either opens her arms to you, or she will not make it easy for you to live there. So within a couple months, I had a place in Sedona, and I moved to Village of Oak Creek, which is kind of like the retirement Sedona. You know, it's just south of here, but we call it Sedona. And I found a beautiful place, and I met beautiful neighbors, and I had made beautiful friends, and I started working full-time in the fire district. Part-time, really. And I thought, okay, I accidentally became a writer, because we had a writing group. 3 of us had a writing group that we were working on, and I accidentally wrote a book. I've since changed it, adapted it, made it bigger, and I'm pursuing that. What challenges do I face now? I face the challenge of being in the public eye. I am terrified of being in the public eye. I am terrified of doing this freaking thing here. No, and I am, all joking aside, I'm serious when, like, my brain freaks out. And when I do things like this, crazy things that it disagrees with, it's going to shut me down for a few days. It's going to start to do ugly talk. It's going to start to tell me how worthless I am, and how I shouldn't do that because no one is going to want to hear what I'm saying. And it's going to be really mean, and it's going to be really unkind. But I have an awareness of it now. See, the key before is I listened to it and I believed it. Sometimes I still believe what my inner critic says, but I am working to define when it's being scared or when it's actually telling me you need to get up and run. You know, I have a hard time. I've had a hard time creating my own business. Some people have said to me, and more than one, about, oh, you know, you should do this and you should do that. And I don't know that I can see you being a healer. And I love it. I have learned, I have now I'm not only a Reiki master, I'm an IET master instructor, and I'm also a practitioner of healing agent protocol. I have learned these since I've been here, and I'm telling you, it is what I love to do. I love being in the energy of the angels. I love being the hollow bone, meaning just the pipeline of energy that comes through, because it's not up to me. It's not me that's special that does the work. I've just been attuned to it. And that level of energy comes through. And I love it. And I love doing it. And I know I have more to offer than just healings, but I find I love to do them. So I've struggled in creating my business. And I struggled because I have a little bit of fear of what the public will say and do. I have learned, while trying to overcome this, I've learned that I have past lives where I was murdered for believing what I believed and doing what I did, which was basically what I'm doing now. Now, full disclosure, I work with the angels. I work with all the angels, whoever comes forward. I have a few favorites. I'm a crystal lover. I do tarot readings. I do channel. I'm more clear audio and clairvoyant. I see things in a sense of not so much visions, but like I get glimpses of things or a sense of them. I refrain from using the word psychic because I think it's had a kind of a really tarnished moniker for a long time. But yeah, that's what I do. I counsel, coach, I write, and I explore all avenues. And I also do social media marketing, yeah, for one of my mentors. So I'm a girl of all trades. I have a secret desire to be a public speaker, to share my messages with the world. I really do. I need a lot of more practice, I know, as you guys have seen in my videos, but that terrifies me. My heart wants to live in Scotland. One of the things that I dream about is I go online and look for cottages and townhomes and condos in Scotland. I also look at the castles too, but you know, they're a couple £1,000, or a couple million, I should say. But you know, my goal is to be kind to people, but that doesn't mean that I don't have my moments where I am very critical, and that's what I try not to be. But sometimes I'm in situations where I just feel it's there. It's that access is always there. It's whether I choose to allow it to come forth. I love working alone. I love being by myself. I get lonely sometimes, but I love being on my own. I tend to be an introvert. Being out in crowds and people, yeah, I go on sensory overload, and I tend to want to be at home. So I'm more of an introvert. I want to be an extrovert. I do try. I try very much to be an extrovert, but I'm more kind of introvertish. I love being home. What am I working on as far as some of the other things? Right now, I'm working on the idea of acceptance and what that looks like to me, what that is in my life. I'm working on creating a connection with my physical body and listening to it. And believe it or not, I had an angel reading done by one of my fellow angels, and one of the things that I'm working on releasing is the RA. I'm really working on, I don't want to say cure, I'm releasing the need to have it, because I think a lot of our illnesses, we kind of sometimes bring on from our emotions, and I'm working to release that. And this year, God, not even a year yet, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetic, and that I'm still having a hard time accepting. I actually saw a specialist the other day, and she mentioned something that makes sense, because when I'm stressed out, my numbers skyrocket. Like, I don't even have to eat anything. I just have to get stressed out. Like, when I'm having a hard time finding blood from my fingers and it's starting to hurt and I'm stressed out, that can shift my numbers at like 100 points. So there is a condition called Cushing's syndrome, and it's when your body doesn't know how to shut off the cortisol. So I did some testing for that to see if that's the cause of the blood sugar issue versus just being diabetic. Because I keep saying to them, it's emotional, because this came on after a really stressful time for me, when I was really feeling resentful about some people in my life, and really feeling not heard, or that it mattered how I felt, or that I was being undervalued. And I was really stressed out, really resentful, and I was really angry. And that's when I was diagnosed. So I'm wondering if that had something to do with it. I am trying to approach everything as a whole versus just symptomatic. I don't want you to give me something for my symptoms. I want a whole. I want my mental, my emotional, my physical well-being to be examined, and not just my physical body and my blood tests. So I try to treat the whole. versus just part. Because it's all, for me, it's all stems from that. Because I mean, when I can manifest high blood sugar just by being emotional. So that's kind of where I'm at as far as my exploration of myself. My desires, my hopes is to help others find inspiration and empowerment through who they are in their light. I understand that a lot of times we can't see it because we're so stuck in the 3D, and we think because we don't have the perfect body, perfect hair, perfect whatever, that we can't achieve that level of enlightenment. And I'm here to tell you that we're wrong. We can. We absolutely can. Because you're a human being. You're just in a physical vessel. You're a spirit in a physical vessel. Your spirit's already there. We just got to mentally catch up. Because our heart's there. Our heart has a high vibration. It always has. It always will. But the problem is that our heads keep us small out of fear. But in the same aspect, we have to take care of it. We have to, whether it's therapy, whether it's counseling, whether it's energy work, we have to take care of what's in our heads. The convictions that we've been given. I'm really trying to unwire all of the cross wirings that happened when I was young. And I'm not going to blame anybody for it. It's no use. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't do any good to be angry anymore. I've worked really hard to come to acceptance with my mother's, with our relationship. I had to stop talking to her for a great many years. And when I actually finally came to acceptance and understanding, I was able to form a relationship with huge boundaries. And when she talks to me in ways that hurt me, I rephrase what she says back. And I said, "Is this what you meant?" She's like, usually like, "No." She's like, "I felt this." And I'm like, "Well, why did you say that?" Because you just said this to me and that hurts. So I'm very honest. And I wish I could do that with everybody. I wish I could have honest conversations, but I do find myself like afraid to express my truth. I just, for fear of being shut down, for fear of creating upset, for fear of creating situations where other people are passive aggressive, I sometimes find myself not expressing my truth. I just take the blame and move on. And that's not a good way to be. It's not. No, it's not helping anybody. So my outlooks, my goals, I'm really trying to be forward, be a little extroverted, being a little more honest in a very neutral, very loving way. And my goal is just to empower people, to help people feel just loved, even for just a second, or laugh, or find joy, or whatever it is. That's what I want. But I also want to find that myself, for myself. And part of that is going to take some time. And I need to commit to building a business in whatever capacity I want to, whether that's the authors, whether that's the books, whether it's the healing, whether it's all of it, whether it's public speaking. You may find more posts from me. You may find more marketing posts from me. And I get that sometimes they're annoying, but sometimes somebody's curious and wants to learn more about it. The Healing Angel Protocol is a big thing in my life right now. And in October, I'm going to take the Master Instructor class. So I want to teach it. I want to share it. I want to share what I know with the world to teach people how to become clear conduits for the healing that they can share with other people and themselves. I want that ripple effect. So that's my story. Very condensed version. I'm sure I missed a lot that I wanted to say. I know that it was probably not the most exciting video I've ever done, but there it is. It was exciting enough for some of you, I guess. It's important to kind of speak my truth and where I come from and what my goals are. And you know, and to do it in a way that maybe it'll inspire you to do it in the way that you express yourself, whether it be through music, whether it be through art, whether it be through just the spoken word, whatever. Maybe you're going to write a book, whatever it may be. May it inspire you to do the same. And I want to share with you the card that I pulled before I did this. And I want to share it because I really think it's important that everybody understands this. It says, surrender to the magic of who you are. We all have magic in us, even in the mundane aspects of life. Remember that you are a magical being with a uniqueness and worth that comes from just being you. So go shine your lights, my friend. And thank you for listening. Thank you for holding space. Thank you for just accepting me and wanting to hear me blather on every month. So grateful to all of you. So grateful. See, I didn't cry till the end. I love you guys. Even if I don't know each of you, know that I love you and I appreciate you. And have a great month. I may do an update mid-month, send it out, but for now, be well. Use the astrology. There's great astrology right now. Use it to your advantage. Go shine your light. Go be your Leo self. Just go be you, because we need it. Take care, everybody. Love you guys.